it is a pleasure to have all of us together before this webinar. I now invite Dr. Ashwini Acharya to please conduct the session further.
Good afternoon, friends. A warm welcome for another important webinar. Oxygen therapy, how to prescribe oxygen clinically. Oxygen is the one of the essential elements required for the survival. Previously, we used to administer oxygen thinking that it can cause no harm. But studies have revealed that too much oxygen can cause more harm than too less than hypoxia. Today we have one of the best experts on the subject, Dr. Kumudini Golam Madam, with us for enlightening us on this subject. Ma'am, it's our greatest pleasure to have you as a speaker. Today we have invited two moderators, Dr. Hemant Wahane to represent clinicians and Dr. Kanchan Fegde to represent anesthesiologists. Dr. Wahane, Hemant Wahane, he is an undergraduate from GS Medical College and he has obtained his MD from Grant Medical College and JJ Hospital. He is currently working as a consultant physician at First Multi-Speciality Hospital, Dombivli. Dr. Kanchan Fegde, she is an anesthesiologist. She graduated from Sri Bahu Saheb Aire JMC Dhule and did post-graduation from YCM Hospital, Pimpri, Pune. Now, I request Dr. Kanchan Fegde to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, friends. At the outset, I would like to thank dear patrons, office bearer of IMA Dombivli branch for giving me this wonderful opportunity to moderate today's session about the oxygen therapy, how to prescribe oxygen in various clinical settings. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Kumudini Golam, who is an eminent and renowned personality in field of anesthesiology and research. Truly, actually, madam needs no introduction as she has been a teacher to most of us practicing anesthesia today. She has a huge work experience to her credit as she has served as a head of Department of Anesthesiology at Lokmanya Tilak Municipal Medical College and Sion Hospital, where she was also in charge of EMS trauma unit, which is one of the busiest place in our country today. She is also known for heading the Department of Anesthesiology at Jupiter Hospital, Thane, wherein she is in charge of cardiothoracic, cardiovascular and transplant surgeries while serving as a director of medical education. She has been the recipient of a very prestigious Hargobind Fellowship. She is known for her fellowship in perioperative management of beating heart surgery at Oxford Heart Centre, London. She has also been a fellow of perioperative management of congenital heart defects in neonates and young children undergoing cardiopulmonary bypass surgeries at a very famous Birmingham Heart Centre, London. She is a renowned postgraduate teacher for MD, DNB, DA, CPS, D and FCPS students. She is a prominent faculty at various national and international conferences and is very active in conducting CMEs at Jupiter Hospital, Thane. She has numerous publications in peer-reviewed national and international journals to her credit. At present, she is serving as head of department EMS, ICU, HDU, SICU at Sushrusha Hospital, Dadar, and is also in charge of resident medical officer. The list is endless. Without any further delay, now I would request Dr. Kumudini Golam Madam to please deliver her talk about the oxygen therapy to enlighten us about the oxygen. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Kanchan, for introducing me. At the outset, I would like to thank the IMA Dombivli branch for inviting me as a faculty for this wonderful webinar. Thank you. Can I start? Sure. So today we are going to discuss about the oxygen therapy, where we give administration of oxygen at an FiO2 more than 21%. So we look at the oxygen in a present day as a drug. So oxygen is often prescribed for the people to treat and prevent hypoxia and hypoxemia in the patients, particularly who have difficulty in ventilating areas of their lungs, impaired gas exchange, and the heart failure. Physicians prescribe this drug in the form of concentration of oxygen, how much liter to be given, and method of the delivery. Since we look at the oxygen as a drug, so let's see the property of this drug, how it is, and how it is work in our body. So oxygen is a colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas, which is essential for the survival of body. It is a gas, but when administered as a supplement to the atmospheric air, we called it as a medication or the drug. So let's go about the properties, side effects, and clinical administration, how we go ahead. Though it is a gas, one thing is important, that it is not inflammable, but it does support the combustion. The air that we breathe contains about 21% oxygen, and the heart carries the oxygen to the peripheral circulation. This is an oxygen delivery. Air takes the lung, and then it goes to the circulation, and accordingly the tissue receives the oxygen. So delivery of the oxygen, it should be more than the oxygen consumption. So when the oxygen moves down the concentration gradient from relatively high levels in the air to that in the cell, that is from the air, it comes to the mitochondria, where the actual metabolism takes place. And in the mitochondria, when the oxygen reaches, the level is 4 to 20 millimeter of mercury. So this decrease in the PO2 from the air to the mitochondria, as we know, it is called as an oxygen cascade. Now, what happened in the alveolar respiration, which takes active part in a gas exchange, where the oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide goes out. And the cellular respiration, this oxygen is utilized by the cells along with the oxygen, which is an aerobic metabolism, and the ATP energy is formed. Then after the metabolism, what is the product which is formed is a carbonic acid, which further get distributed into the water and the carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide goes back into the circulation and then into the air. I can't see this. I can't see more. Just a minute, my half slide is going to that side. I can go to the I'm not able. Can anybody mute, because there are so many pictures are coming here. So my full slides getting obstructed. Can anybody hear me? Okay, come.
काय करायचंय मॅडम?
नाही, मला फुल स्क्रीन दिसत होता, सडनली फोटो यायला लागले. हा, दिस विल बी गुड. दिस इज कम्फर्टेबल.
दिस इज ओके.
दिस इज ओके.
ओके ना?
येस. एक मिनिट, आय मे हॅव टू गो.
ते एस्केप बटन दाबायचं मॅडम. एस्केप बटन दाब. ते एस्केप लिहिलंय बघा टॉपला.
अगेन हॅव टू स्टार्ट दॅट मीन्स.
नाही, फक्त स्क्रीन छोटा होईल. फुल स्क्रीन आहे ना?
ओके,
छोटा होईल. हा, फुल स्क्रीन वरून तो छोटा होईल.
हो, बरोबर आहे, तिकडे असतं, पण
ठीक आहे, आरामात कर.
हा, जरा
झालं ना?
हा, बघते आता परत. ठीक आहे. Now it's okay?
It's okay.
So if I make the bigger one, I'll just try, because most slides, these are the important slides. So you want me to again go down back? Is okay? I'm comfortable. Can
Yes.
I? Okay. So now we have seen how the metabolism is there. Now how we can calculate the oxygen consumption. The oxygen consumption we calculate from the mixed venous oxygen saturation, which is measured in the pulmonary artery, which pulled the venous saturation almost from all the organs. Now this venous saturation is also influenced by the oxygen delivery and consumption. So normally the venous oxygen saturation is about 75%, but in the clinically we can access about 65%. Now we have seen the metabolism, we have seen how the consumption is there. Another most important is oxygen extraction ratio, that how much tissue is going to extract this oxygen from the water, from the metabolism. So what is it? It is the oxygen extraction ratio, is the amount of oxygen extracted by the peripheral tissues divided by the amount of oxygen which is delivered to the peripheral cells. So this is the index of efficient of oxygen transport. So oxygen coefficient ratio and oxygen utilization ratio, we can calculate from the oxygen consumption to delivery. When we give 100% oxygen, this ratio normally comes around 25%. Now, as far as the oxygen delivery is concerned, there are so many conditions where this delivery decreases. For example, cardiac output, hemoglobin concentration, so carrying capacity goes down, and decrease in blood oxygen itself. Now here what happened? Your supply goes down. So what has happened at the consumption at the tissue level? Now this figure I am going to take in little detail. If you see the critical delivery threshold, down here is the oxygen delivery ml per minute, and here the oxygen consumption it is given. And in this side, top is given the extraction. Normal, I said it is 25, and then it comes to 40, 50, 60, 80, like that. Now, what is the importance of this? Because this cardiac output goes down, the consumption suffers, but tissue starts extracting more oxygen from the hemoglobin from mixed venous blood, and then saturation starts falling down. So A to B is okay, they manage, but up to 70, your extraction ratio starts becoming high. That means the tissue now, the metabolism is going in the side of anaerobic. So the critical point is the C. So most of us, we have to take care that you should not go at this point, and how we can give therapy to maintain with the help of hypoxemia and hypoxic management. So the reduction below the point C in a figure cannot be compensated by increasing oxygen extraction and results in anaerobic metabolism and lactic acidosis. We will try to prevent to go at the C level. How? So let's have a little clarity about the hypoxia. It is decreased oxygen supply to the tissues, and hypoxemia is decrease in arterial oxygen content in the blood. Now there are, all of us, we know there's 4 types of hypoxemia. Hypoxic, when the oxygen tension goes down; anemic, carrying capacity, as we can see in the anemia, blood loss; stagnant, when there's a decreased perfusion in the circulation, in the heart failure, shock, ischemia; and histotoxic, cell itself become hypoxic in case of cyanide poisoning. Now arterial oxygen is a main rule of thumb for the classification of this hypoxemia. The normal is 80 to 100 millimeter of mercury. Mild hypoxemia, 60 to 80 millimeter of mercury. We call moderate hypoxia when it is 40 to 60, and severe is when it is less than 40 millimeter. But when the patient comes, most of them in moderate to severe hypoxemia, when there's a picture of respiratory failure. So how to manage this hypoxia, and rather than how to give oxygen therapy dose. Now, when the patient comes to us, a routine examination, chest examination, respiratory effort, particularly EMS, we start giving oxygen. And then by that time, see the saturation. Meanwhile, reassess and addresses what is the cause. And then you can make out is it hypoxia or hypoxemia. Based on that, you can calculate the oxygen dose under the monitoring devices. Which are the monitoring devices? You all know it's a pulse oximeter. Then we can see when the ventilator patient is on the ventilator or on the monitor. So we know from this what's the oxygen demand when we are monitoring this. Now how you know the demand of the oxygen in this situation? is when the patient is on ventilator, then it may be having hypoxia, minute ventilation, or clinically with the help of pulse oximeter. And depending upon this hypoxia, we know where is the condition. If you have got EtCO2 monitoring is wonderful, then there's a high PCO2 or low PCO2. Further, when the class 3 and 4, which I have mentioned earlier, there is a respiratory failure, frank respiratory failure. But there are two types of respiratory failure. One is type 1, we call hypoxemic respiratory failure. Here what happens? The arterial oxygen is less than 60 millimeter of mercury, and your carbon dioxide is low or normal, that is hypoxemic. Whereas in hypercapnic, the both, if they suffer, your arterial oxygen is less than 60 millimeter of mercury, and your carbon dioxide is more than 45 millimeter. Now, how to differentiate and go further is based on ABG analysis. Now, we know what is the patient demand, and then based on that, we know how we can calculate the oxygen dose depending upon the situation and oxygen saturation, clinical and so on. Then the flow meter, next we give the oxygen therapy with the flow meter, and devices which is to be given is decided as per the patient's condition. The methods of dispensing oxygen is piping, central oxygen, cylinder, and oxygen concentration. Now this is most important calculation, and everybody should keep in their mind when we are dealing with the critical care area. What is my PaO2, arterial oxygen, when this helps in calculation of the oxygen dose? Because every time we are not going to have arterial oxygen with us. So let's see what will be on room air, what is my oxygen, 50%, what will be the FiO2, and 80%, what will be the simple one formula is there, FiO2 multiplied by barometric pressure and minus water vapor pressure. Barometric is 760 millimeter of mercury. Water vapor pressure is minus 43 at our sea level, minus arterial carbon dioxide by 0.8. Now this calculation I am not going to take detail because it will take a little longer time. So when I am breathing 21% oxygen, my FiO2 21% will give 100 millimeter of mercury is a PaO2. 50% I am giving FiO2, it will be 306, and 80% it goes about 520. Most of us when we are working in a critical area, EMS, we always start high oxygen and then we forget everything. And patients start getting higher and higher oxygen and we come into the trouble. So the doctor or the intensivist critical care person has to keep this in mind, that what will be the PaO2 as far as the saturation and calculation is concerned. Why it is? Because if FiO2 is given more than 60%, more than 36 hours, FiO2 more than 50%, more than 24 hours, FiO2 more than 80%, more than 12 hours, we start facing the oxygen toxicity. What is it? Suppression of ventilation. Why there is a suppression of ventilation? Because giving 100% oxygen, the carbon dioxide, nitrogen levels started coming down and the alveoli become full of oxygen. And that, because of the level of carbon dioxide is low, the respiratory center has got a different message, then it will cause depression. And that causes narcosis. Then there's the danger of fire, premature retrolental fibroplasia, and absorption atelectasis is another important point when we are managing this patient. Why? This is 100% oxygen we are giving, then in B and then C. Now what will happen after 15 minutes, blood nitrogen is depleted and in poorly ventilated and well perfused units, and they become atelectic. So here if there's any obstruction, full alveoli gets collapsed. And here again, your perfusion is better as compared to ventilation. So FiO2 calculation for oxygen delivery and the delivery system and the dose is very important. Now oxygen delivery system devices are low flow and high flow. The low flows, they have got variable performance because it depends upon your how much oxygen flow you are keeping, patient factors and device factors. So there is a variable performance. You cannot say 2 liters I have given, patient will get only 2 liters. No. So the equipments which we use for the lower flow is nasal cannula, simple mask, partial rebreathing mask, and non-rebreathing mask. Now let's go little detail about that. Now the simple principle in this low flow is the oxygen gas we can give from here is a reservoir, then it goes to the patient. At the same time, during inspiration, negative pressure is getting created and the air from the room air is entering and then expiration goes. Now here, depending upon which equipment you are using, this reservoir position change. When I'm giving nasal oxygen, my nose becomes a reservoir. When I'm using face mask, area under the mask becomes a reservoir and so on. Now again, I always stress this chart, which is very important, that you don't have to remember if this chart is in your pocket, because from directly you get what is FiO2, you are getting it. So nasal cannula, if you are giving 0.24, 0.28, 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter, 4 liter, up to 6 liter usually we practice, and accordingly your FiO2 become 24%, 28%, and so on. Now suppose by giving 6 liter oxygen and then it is not going, so you should not go to 10 liter for through the nasal cannula because it will be variable. So you have to go to the next equipment, which is a oxygen face mask. The face mask you can give 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and 7 to 8 liter oxygen. And with that, you get 40, 50, and 60%. Now, next what we use is the mask with reservoir and the total partial rebreathing and non-rebreathing. We will see in the next few slides. Now, the simple mask, how it works, the open ports of this, they are exhale gas. And if air entering through this, if whatever oxygen which we are not giving and reaching to inspiratory flow. So this is the working of this from the atmosphere. It increases the oxygen flow and thereby instead of getting the expiration port and the oxygen concentration increases. So normally you get 35 to 55% of oxygen through this at 6 to 10 liters. Again, refer back that chart, 99%. We are correct if you use that chart in the practice and it's very helpful. Now, second is partial rebreathing mask. Here the oxygen is directed, this is oxygen and direct to the reservoir. Now what will happen? The inspiration draw the gas from the bag and the room air. And during the expiration, first 1/3 of the exhale gases goes into the bag as a dead space. And this dead space gas mixes with the new oxygen coming into the bag and thereby it delivers the 60% oxygen. Now this is just a principle behind what we are using when we are using these equipments. Now see, partial rebreathing mask with a reservoir gives moderate oxygen devices. It delivers 35 to 60% oxygen at a rate of 6 to 10 liters per minute flow rate. Now first third, what I mentioned in the last slide, of the exhale gases mix with the reservoir and exhale gases from the upper way are the oxygen. Remember one thing, whenever you're using the reservoir bag, the heart should be partially filled and should not be collapsed. Non-rebreathing mask, here there are two walls, both the walls prevent the expiration. So whatever oxygen is going from here, going to the reservoir, go back to the patient. And because of that, there is no air entrainment and it delivers 100% oxygen. The bag does not completely collapse. So there are the situations where we have to give 100% oxygen and patient breathing is adequate, but there are some other reason of hypoxia, then this mask is advisable. So non-rebreathing mask with the reservoir, high oxygen dose delivers 95% oxygen at 10 to 12 liters per minute. And there are two walls. One is added to rebreathing mask and entrainment of room air during inspiration and retention of exhale gases during the expiration. Now for the small babies less than 1 year, we use again high oxygen device, the oxygen hood. The clear plastic shell, it encompasses only on body's head and well tolerated by the infants. Size of the hood limits the use of a younger than age. So most of the time we use this hood for our newborn babies. This allows the easy access to the chest, trunk, extremities, and allow the control of oxygen delivery. The oxygen delivery is coming from outside to the tent. Now coming to the high flow oxygen delivery systems, they are venti mask, air entrainment mask, mechanical aerosol systems, and high flow humidifier systems. Here again the principle, if you see, the air entrainment. So oxygen takes more oxygen when you attach the Venturi system to that. We'll see in the next few slides. And the exhale gases goes out. Now how it works. And when these entrainment ratios, how it is, again directly it comes on your chart. When we are using the venti mask, FiO2, you get like this, and accordingly you know how much flow you are keeping. Same as what I mentioned in the initial slide. So this chart and the first chart is most important when we are practically working in a critical care areas. Now everybody is well familiar with this Venturi mask. This Venturi mask, the beauty about is because it's a high flow oxygen delivery system, it is most reliable and accurate method for delivering a precise oxygen concentration. It consists of mask with a jet. Now this, you see, it is a jet. And we know how the Venturi principle works with the jet. Excess gases leaves by exhalation ports and oxygen flow from 4 to 15 liters, and narrow orifice FiO2 will get anywhere between 24 to 60%. But it can cause skin breakdown. So you have to be taken care because when you're rightly putting this mask on a patient's face. Now there is always a color code for this Venturi mask. Green, red, yellow, and why this color code system is there? Color, this is the FiO2 and this is oxygen flow. Suppose I want to use red color. So I'll see, I want 40% oxygen from the red color I get, and flow I had to keep 10 liter per minute in the flow meter. So depending upon the patient, suppose there is nothing, okay, we are just giving 24. Most of the time, this resident medical officer, I don't only 2 liter I get, 3 liter I get, but you are using your red color Venturi mask. Is it correct? No. So blue color means 24% and 2 liter. This all the medical officers who are working in a critical care area and the senior intensivists should know that what is this. And usually I keep this chart in the ICU area. So the people who are working there, they were easy to find this. Not only the doctors, even the nurses. And this is again aerosol mask, 21 to 100% FiO2 it gives, depending on the nebulizer setting, flow rates of 8 to 15 liter per minute. Now, up till now, we have seen all these equipments, the negative pressure ventilation. If you see that all these patients, they are breathing and thereby they're entraining the air from the atmosphere. Now we are moving to the positive pressure ventilation, which is non-invasive ventilation. That is CPAP and BiPAP, which commonly nowadays we are using in a clinical practice. Now, what is it? The non-positive, negative, positive pressure ventilation means to support the failing respiratory function by delivering the oxygen enriched gas under the pressure without requiring endotracheal intubation. So with this, we try to avoid the invasive procedure like endotracheal intubation and ventilator. Best to be used as a short-term strategies to buy the time for medical therapy to treat rapidly reversible causes of respiratory failure. Now there are two types, the continuous positive air pressure and there is a BiPAP. So bi-level positive air pressure. Now what happened in the CPAP? It utilizes the low pressure, that is 5 centimeter of water, to maintain the airway patency. As you can see here, which I have set up about the 5 centimeter, and thereby you will see the flow like this. So there is more time for alveoli to receive the oxygen. Increase functional reserve capacity, the FRC, recruit the alveoli, opening up the alveoli, and increase the oxygenation. Decrease the work of breathing and patient sepsis. Last but not the least, it also helps in the alveoli splinting. How? This CPAP increases the airway pressure, allowing for better gas diffusion and for re-expansion of the collapsed alveoli. CPAP allows the refilling of the collapsed airless alveoli and thereby increase the ventilation. It expands the surface area of the collapsed alveoli, allowing more surface area to be in contact with the capillaries and the gas exchange. So what are the indications when we use CPAP? The congestive heart failure, where the oxygen is suffering. Why? Because this patient, the output is less. Then there's edema, and because of the edema, they have got the saturation is low. Secondly, COPD patients, they are known for having intermittent attacks of hypoxia. Then obstructive sleep apnea, obese patient, hypoventilation syndrome, for them the CPAP machine is good. Then immunosuppressed patients, facilitated ventilator weaning, and neuromuscular diseases. What are the drawbacks of this CPAP is? Patient is alert, have spontaneous respiration, tight mass is fitting, so it is very uncomfortable, feeling of claustrophobia, increased thoracic pressure. The critical pressure is important because increased thoracic pressure, it causes reduction in the cardiac output. So when we are using this CPAP and the pressure, and your patient is critical, this point is very important to take care of. Now CPAP and BiPAP, when you use CPAP and when you use BiPAP. BiPAP is bi-level positive airway pressure. It provides higher inspiratory pressure and thereby increases the tidal volume and ventilation and assists with the removal of CO2. How it is? This is a BiPAP. Now you get BiPAP machines also portable because most of the time the patient comes with a history of sleep apnea and so on. So this bi-level positive airway pressure, now how it is? Its name implies to delivers the two sets positive airway pressure, one during the inspiration and one during the expiration. So we call IPAP and EPAP. Now how you will go for the initial setting of BiPAP? It is often initiated with the expiratory positive airway pressure, that is approximately 5 centimeters of the water. The inspiratory positive airway pressure we keep 8 to 10 centimeters of. This is our initial setting when we put the patient on the BiPAP. Now these pressures can be titrated depending upon the clinical and physiological response and patient's comfort. Final IPAP pressures of 15 to 20 centimeters of water are quite common in a clinical practice. Now this is a wonderful figure, how this BiPAP works and how the CPAP works. This is our normal breathing, and when you give CPAP, what are you giving? By positive airway pressure. So that increases, and then the patient is getting what we discussed about the alveolar recruitment and all this. Now when we add the EPAP, that is the expiratory positive air pressure, now what is happening here? Suddenly level goes up. So here is better perfusion of the other, better ventilation to the patient, and thereby better perfusion and improvement in hypoxia and hypoxemia. So non-invasive ventilation term, it is favored as bi-level. IPAP acts as a pressure support and increases the patient's respiratory effort by improving tidal volume and minute ventilation. Whereas EPAP used to spin the airways open, thus improving the gas exchange. So this machine, you should know that when to use BiPAP and when to use CPAP. But remember, our patients, they are awake, so their psychological support we have to give. Patient has to eat and drink. Medication he can take, inhaler, nebulizers. Physiotherapy is must, and we need a 10 minutes break for every hour because this is a very high pressure course is going. So aim of NIV treatment is to improve gas exchange, to reduce the work of breathing, reduce shortness of breath, and to avoid the need of invasive ventilation, and to reduce the length of the hospital stay. Now everybody knows about this AMBU bag, positive pressure ventilation, almost we are using it. Now this is a very important formula which I like to share to all of you because it is very important, particularly in the ICU setting. See, normal, the PaO2, arterial oxygen by FiO2 is 300 to 500 is a ratio. Now if it comes to less than 200, it indicates that it is a significant gas exchange arrangement and you are on a toes where will be issues. So to summarize, oxygen is the drug, so it must be used very judiciously and cautiously. You should set your targets, because when your patient comes, how you will move, and accordingly your delivery, oxygen dose has to be adjusted. Before you move to mechanical ventilation, consider these equipments maximally, these simple devices. It is important to keep in mind when you are using these devices, their capabilities and limitations. Monitoring during oxygen therapy is very vital. NIV is an option, but patient should need the criteria for its application. So what are the safety precautions? The most important point I'm keeping first is educate the healthcare workers, patients and relatives and the visitors about the oxygen hazard and prevention while dealing with the oxygen. Because we all take lectures, we talk about oxygen excellence, but the patient, and you see the healthcare workers, how they carry oxygen flow meter on. So this we have to educate when they are handling the oxygen, what is the risk and how to operate extinguisher. Then avoid the use of volatile flammable material like grease, alcohol, ether and acetone near the patient's receiving bed. Be sure that electrical monitoring equipments, suction machine and portable diagnostic machines are electrically grounded. Then locate the fire extinguisher and oxygen meter turn off lever, because we are all trained that the training is must nowadays. If there is fire, how to use this extinguisher. Provide cotton gown and blankets in the hospital use. It is advisable. Synthetics and wool may generate the sparks of static electricity. Set up the no smoking and oxygen in use sign at the site of administration and at the door according to the hospital policy. So this is very important, because when we are giving and there are number of stories I like, but there is no time to share. The one simple, the BiPAP, the one patient was getting an ICU BiPAP. Okay, the flow was going on about 50-60%, and suddenly patient became bad. They say we have to do invasive tracheostomy. Cautery machine came in, and the spark of cautery is giving trouble. One. Secondly, in COVID, we use ventilator and 100% oxygen, and we say we are giving 100% oxygen, but suddenly patient became bad. So at the end of this lecture, you yourself will know what is the answer why this patient had, in spite of putting 100% oxygen. Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Ashok Shukla. Welcome to the session.
Can I help you? I couldn't.
If we are administering oxygen in OPD level, what precautions should we take?
Madam, again it is same, because in the OPD level, we have got the oxygen cylinder, correct? And some patients, they have got the portable ventilator also for transporting. But if I am using in my clinic, then I have got one oxygen cylinder always as a standby. So it has to be kept in upright position, in a vertical position. And the flow meter, we have to check the oxygen full or empty, that is important. And secondly, the flow meter has to be used very cautiously, which I mentioned. And class 4 or your assistant or nurses should be trained that at the end of the use, switch off the flow meter. And oxygen is also always kept upright and not horizontal.
Madam, we have one question that CPAP you keep at a gap of 10 minutes every 1 hour. When it is used for sleep apnea, and how will it be possible?
See, sleep apnea story is different. And this mask, because they are portable masks are available. And sleep at night usually good. But sleep apnea studies are going there. And from the study, the doctor says, okay, this time you have to use your mask. There are the patients and they carry that mask. And night, suppose they say night after 12:30 to early morning 3, you are in an apneic state. There are the graphs comes, like how we do Holter's test. Like that, they study the apnea. And in that period, they advise patient to use the mask.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam, this COVID times with post-COVID fibrotic patient, we have to give many patient oxygen at home.
Yes.
What is your experience about that?
See, some of my colleagues who are doing this, the home visits and all. So again, I am telling, my first point is you have to educate the people, even family, that what are the risks and how we are going to use it. Now, suppose in the small room and there everything is there, then you have to keep cautious the people who are coming to see the patient. Then what will happen? Oxygen has to be put off because they will come with the smoking and all those. And even the small gas spark is also will cause the explosion. That's why the training first is for these people important, that how to handle. So these, my RMOs, when they go for the home visit, they train their family members that not to allow visitors, put the board outside. And when anybody wants to see, you have to put off the oxygen. Because there we give 2 to 3 liters. And every time they have to check the oxygen pressure. Is it full, partial, or getting empty, because they have to replace it.
Thank you, ma'am, for a very informative session.
Thank you.
I thank you, our moderators, Dr. Hemant Bahane and Dr. Kanchan also. Now I request Dr. Vandana, our president, for any presidential announcements.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I would like to, yes, madam.
Can I leave? Leave the screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for your lecture.
No, I'll wait, don't worry.
Yeah, it was a very informative lecture. And I request all our members to join our webinar on September 5 also, which we have kept, all ins and outs of plasma therapy in COVID times. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kanchan, for introducing me. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
So there is one more question, na? Hemant, how the oxygen concentrator works?
Madam, we have just received one more question.
Yeah, I know that, how the oxygen concentrate works. Even the same, now, how the cylinder concentration works. So depending upon, there are different levels of oxygen concentration, and depending upon where you are using, that they give. And frankly speaking, I never use oxygen concentration. So I will not, on authority, I will tell, yes, you can do it. So next time, if then I can find out, and I'll tell the people who are using oxygen concentration at home, 100%.
Madam, one more question. What is HFNO?
HF,
One more question. FNO, high flow nasal oxygen.
what he wants to know, he or she. I am not getting question, because high flow nasal oxygen, usually we first oxygen, I'm explaining it. So maximum, but above that, I said switch off to the face mask. Why? Because high flow, you're giving 10 liter, all your nasal with a reservoir, it becomes dry. And that dry, it gets percolated down. And in the respiratory system, it is lying with the ciliary movements. And that ciliary movements, you need it the moment. If the dryness goes down, your ciliary movements are hardly involved. So your full respiratory tract becomes. That is the reason this limitation is there when you go from this to this like that. And that's why when we use higher level, you use that flow meter along with the water, so that it will work as a humidifier and which will keep ciliary movements in. But no, because that humidifier is just air. Ideally, you should have a good humidifier, because that gives 37 degree temperature of the warm oxygen which is going there. The oxygen coming for air, the temperature is nearly 0. Okay. Any more?
Okay, yes. Anyone else wants to ask the question? Okay.
Thank you.
Ajay, thank you, madam. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you all the guests, yeah, which have joined from us, the outside Dombli also, from different parts of Maharashtra. We have many guests. So thanks to all of them from Mumbai, and thank you.
I thank IMA Blind Dombivli for inviting me for such a wonderful webinar. Thank you. Where I can share my views with all of you. Thank you. Sorry. Can I leave or leave means from the screen? Okay.
Yes, you can click, madam. You can click on the leave button. Yes, ma'am.
No. I want to wait. I want to see.
Yeah, yes.
I'll wait. So I'll mute it. I will mute it from my side so that